The case of the silent second line. The second line was supposed to start at noon. By 12:30, the brass band stood sweating in the sun outside St. Claude Avenue, instruments lowered, confusion rippling through the small crowd. In New Orleans, you could be late to a lot of things, but not a second line. Maeve Landry checked her watch again. She wasn't part of the parade. She was only there because her café sat directly across from the community center, and when a brass band failed to march, something was wrong. Inside the café, the air smelled of chicory coffee and powdered sugar. Maeve wiped her hands on her apron and peered through the window. No movement, no music, no laughter. That was when she noticed it. The banner hung crooked above the center's door, one corner torn loose, celebrating the life of Lucien Baptiste. The letters were hand-painted, uneven, but careful. Lucien Baptiste, retired bandleader, neighborhood fixture, man who never missed a beat. Maeve frowned. Lucien had been fine yesterday. He'd sat at her counter, complained about the heat, and sworn the trumpets would wake the dead tomorrow. Yet the doors to the community center were locked. She crossed the street. A few neighbors hovered nearby. Miss Arlene from the hair salon, two teenage boys holding trombones, and Father Rene, looking deeply uncomfortable without a schedule to follow. Maeve rattled the door, locked. "Anyone seen Lucien this morning?" she asked. Miss Arlene shook her head. "No, but his trumpet case was dropped off last night, on the steps." That stopped Maeve cold. "Dropped off?" "One of those black cases," Arlene said. "Empty." An empty trumpet case in New Orleans was not just careless, it was unthinkable. Maeve crouched and noticed something else. A faint streak of gold dust near the threshold. Not glitter, something finer. It caught the light like crushed metal. She followed it. The trail led around the side of the building to the alley, where the dumpsters steamed in the heat. There, propped against the brick wall, sat Lucien's trumpet case. Open. Inside was not a trumpet, but a folded envelope. Maeve hesitated, then opened it. "Music belongs to the people," it read, "not the past." Below the note was a key, old brass, worn smooth. Maeve straightened slowly. This wasn't theft. It was a message. Lucien wasn't gone. He was hiding something. She knew Lucien well enough to know where to look next. He'd spent years teaching kids out of the old rehearsal hall near the river, long abandoned, technically condemned but still standing. Maeve locked her café, grabbed her bike, and pedaled through side streets thick with humidity and history. The rehearsal hall's doors were ajar. Inside, dust floated through shafts of light. And there, on a folding chair in the center of the room, sat Lucien Baptiste, polishing his trumpet. "About time," he said without looking up. Maeve exhaled. "You scared half the neighborhood." Lucien smiled sadly. "Good. They needed waking up." He gestured to the walls. Old posters hung there, photos of bands long gone, names forgotten. The hall was scheduled to be demolished in 2 weeks. "They're turning this into condos," Lucien said. "Luxury ones. No room for noise." Maeve understood then. "You staged the disappearance." "I borrowed time," he corrected. "The band's supposed to march here instead. One last second line. If the city hears us, they can't pretend we were quiet." Maeve folded her arms. "You could have told people." Lucien shook his head. "They'd ask permission. Music like this doesn't ask." Outside, faint footsteps approached. Then more. Voices. The band had followed the trail of gold dust. Lucien's trick ground from an old trombone slide. Trumpets lifted, drums snapped, and when Lucien raised his horn and played the first note, the sound burst through the open doors and spilled into the street, loud and undeniable. By sunset, the rehearsal hall was surrounded by neighbors dancing, laughing, crying. Phones recorded, news vans arrived. The demolition was postponed by morning. Maeve stood at the edge of the crowd, coffee in hand, watching Lucien laugh like a man 20 years younger. She caught his eye. He tipped his hat. Mystery solved, not with silence but with sound. And in New Orleans, that felt exactly right.